The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, the official podcast for fabulous single women over 35. Who I am Candace Harper, lovecoach.com, coming to you live from the V Club. Woo! V Club! I teach and inspire audacious intimacy to powerful, professional, grown women who want real relationships from seductive singlehoods. More importantly, I help single city women over 35 who have given up on love, discover their passions and purpose, and stop getting ghosted. And like I said, we're coming live from the V Club, one of my most favorite places to be. It's a gorgeous venue in the heart of Chelsea where women take classes, workshops, and attend events around sex and relationships. Who doesn't love that, right, ladies? Right? Check out the V Club by going to thevclub.com and see what's on the calendar. I'm on the calendar. I'll tell you about that later. Anyway, you are listening maybe on your smart device to the TuneIn app, listening to Armed Radio, or maybe you're at armedradioglobal.com in the garden. You know I love the garden. Also, if you have an Alexa, you can ask for candy on iHeartRadio. I don't know why I always get the iHeartRadio, Alexa, ask for candy confused, but you can do one of those. You can figure out the order. I see you on Facebook Live. We got Lee, who's my unofficial co-host. Lee is here, and we have Ed, and people are trickling in, so that's good. If you are joining us live on Facebook and you haven't joined Armed Radio Group News, the group, or the Creative Love Collective, you can quickly maybe pop on over and do that. Jamie, you got to answer the door. I don't know if y'all hear the doorbell, but we got another guest coming in. You see, this is how we roll, people. I see Robin is here. What's up, Robin? And also, if you are shy and you don't want to join us on the live and, you're feeling like you want to just kind of sit behind your computer, you can call us at 1-800-508-5431. And if you're really shy, you can email us at askforcandypodcast@gmail.com. And whatever questions or whatever your comments are, we'll deal with on another show. So, like I said, I am Candace Harper, lovecoach.com. My talent is conversation. My passion is personal growth. And my purpose is to teach and inspire radical self-acceptance in myself and in others so that we can all have our best possible love life. And if you haven't been here before, what this show is about, each week we have lively conversations about different topics relating to love and relationships. Sometimes we bring on special guests or play games, have activities. Always we get a chance to laugh or cry or just learn something new, and that is why this is a conversation, people. We're not here to hand down a bunch of dating and relationship rules or rights and wrongs. We're not here to shame your love situation. Our only intention is to create audacious intimacy, seductive singlehoods, and healthy relationships. And for tonight, I'm bringing back Cora questions, y'all. Those of you who've been listening, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the month. I did a show with Courtney, who's sometimes on the show, where we just answered Cora questions. And if you don't know what Cora is, it's a website where people just basically ask questions about everything. And so, and it's social media stuff. So I have a profile on Cora, and a lot of times the questions that I'll answer about, they're obviously about love and relationships or self-esteem or, whatever. So I'll get these emails. Do you want to answer this question? And I'm like, yeah, I want to answer it, but I don't want to sit and type. I want to bring it on Ask for Candy and have a community of women who will answer it with me. And also my Facebook Live people. I see Adrian is here. Hi, Adrian. My Facebook Live people can also join in and answer the core questions too. So feel free to join in the conversation. And if you feel compelled, you can also call us and answer the core questions too. So what do you ladies think? Should we just jump in and start answering the Cora questions? What do you feel about that? Yeah. I see William just arrived. Now here's the disclaimer about Cora questions. They come in anonymously. So we don't know how old the person is, what their social background is. We don't know anything about that person. Sometimes they might give away their gender a little bit. There might be some clues, but basically you're answering the story and kind of, writing the rest of it in, right? And we're writing it in based on our own experiences and what we know. So that's why it's a very it's a free, allowing, non-judgmental conversation, because we're just, whatever we're moved to say about whatever the questions are, that's what it's all about. Hi, Julie. I see Julie just came in. So let's start with the first one. Let's go. My husband is not that good looking. This is the beginning of the question, but he does everything to make me happy. But I am losing my self-esteem. I never even upload his picture on Facebook. My ex-boyfriend is getting married to a beautiful girl, and I'm not taking it easily. What should I do? No judgments, ladies. What do we think about this question? Who has like a burning response to it where they're like, I have something about that. Dead silence. We got crickets. Go ahead, Jaleisha.
I'm wondering if she's attempted to focus on the qualities that have kept her there. I mean, the things that she really values, like thinking about what she values.
Yeah.
And making sure that, her actions have not, well, I don't want to seem judgy, but, but yeah, I'm thinking about what are the traits and qualities that she really values in the relationship and in him, that are being overshadowed by, I'm assuming, society's standards of what is handsome or what is good looking.
Yeah.
We sometimes get caught up on other people's stuff and standards and values, and that usually causes some inner turmoil, which sounds like she's going through right now. Maybe her actions aren't aligning with her values.
Like maybe worried too much about what other people think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which I think is like something with social media, right?
Oh, totally.
Like we can totally get caught up in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Jamie, I see you. I see a furrow in your brow, which I know that means you're thinking.
Well, I actually I'm feeling more. Like when you read that, I felt like heartbroken that somebody, be categorized as with the, just for their looks.
Yeah.
But it does sound like she appreciates the things that he does for her, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the first things that
he says, that he does everything to make me happy.
Okay. So it comes down to looks.
Yeah, like it feels like she's kind of putting him in a, he does everything to make me happy. She didn't say he makes me happy or, what he does makes me happy.
Yeah, right.
Right? But I think Jaleisha has a good point. I mean, like she did get with him in the first place for a reason.
Right.
So obviously he does bring value, right, to the relationship. But
she's attracted to him. She is attracted to him because the guy, right?
Yeah, like something got her there.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a lot of things that we could possibly fill in the story with, whether it's money or whatever. But here's the thing that really stood out for me is that she says she's losing her self-esteem. And you know me, Jamie, I'm all about like self-esteem and our own power, our power of choice and what we choose to generate. And so, whether it's a romantic relationship or a friendship or, whatever, to put the responsibility on someone else of your self-esteem. Like if you choose to be with a partner because you say that they do things that you find valuable or should be valuable, Lee says it's not really about the looks. There's something missing, likely inwardly for her. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Like what she's really revealing about herself here, we could take the shallow route and judge and just say, oh, she's just being shallow. But what she's really revealing about herself is that she didn't attract him from a self-loving place. Mm-hmm. Right? So here it is, like she, whatever the reasons are that she got into a relationship with him, what I would say, and obviously I'm adding to the story and speculating, is that she attracted, what she attracted, not loving herself. So, she doesn't have anything to offer him as far as that's concerned. And she's putting the responsibility on him. She's sort of blaming him and using what he looks like as a tool for, what's already missing in her. And not generating it for herself, right? Like we do that a lot, I feel like. When we resist something or we don't give ourselves something, it's so easy to blame the fact that I don't love you on, that you are addicted to weed. When really I don't love you because I'm not generating that for myself, right? I may not love weed smoking, but that's not why I don't love a person. Like, you don't not love a person because of something they do. You don't love a person because you're not generating it, right? I don't know. And it sounds like here she's not generating any love for herself. If you're losing your self-esteem, that's something you got to work on. That's not something he's there to create. What do you ladies think about that?
Yeah.
This is a reflective crowd.
I definitely think, her own self-esteem should not be impacted by how her partner looks.
Yeah.
So, I agree totally. There's definitely something deeper going on with her. I think I was feeling like, oh my God, like if I was her husband and I saw that question, I would be so,
like hurt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Lee says his looks are the reflection of her inward feelings. Yeah, I mean, she's saying he's ugly. Maybe her inner feelings aren't that attractive either. And, it's just something to look at. When you blame your self-esteem on someone else, that's just, it's like an indication that there's something to look at.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's the question of the new fiance of the old boyfriend. So that I kind of wondered, what does that have to do with it? This beautiful woman, but so what?
Yeah. She's got all this sort of like
She's comparing,
compare and despair, putting it outside of herself. Like, I feel how I feel because of this other person or how this person's behaving, because the ex has a beautiful new person.
Yeah.
So I don't feel good about myself. Like, that's definitely an indication that you want to look at, like, how am I treating myself? Right? Because you can't love somebody else no matter what they look like if your self-esteem is so affected by the external. I don't know. We got a reflective for you out in the audio. We have a powerful reflective women. They're like, yep. We're thinking about that. All right. Does anybody else have anything to say on that question? Any answers? Are you all feeling like she's such a bitch? Oh, that poor guy.
No, I think, my initial response was just like, oh, that hurts, but most likely that's what she's feeling, right? Because we usually project what we're feeling onto others or external situations, and she must be not feeling well about herself and her life, so passion for that.
Right? Love thyself, woman. All right, next question. Are Americans or people living in the West really that obsessed with sex and dating as they show in sitcoms, dramas, and movies? Well, I liked this question because what do you guys think? I'm so obsessed with sex and relationships and all that stuff. And I don't know if it's a Western culture thing, but what do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
I think so.
It's shoved down our throats.
Yeah.
You can't get away from it. I mean, you're online reading, there's an article on how to do this, that, the third, how to get, the guy or get back. And I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
Sex positions, how to make it hot and sexy. I mean, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think it's still really taboo at the same time. So, of course, anything that's taboo, people are going to be dark bedrooms, like trying to figure it out.
Their secret shame, their Pornhub addiction.
Under the covers, their flashlight still, their magazine. No, we've grown beyond that. But I think that, we at the V Club, we tried to fill a void for people who might be too shy to take a class about their own sexuality or, learn something about their bodies. Because our environment is so lovely here, and the classes are very light and engaging and informative. So there's no like taking clothes off or anything like that. Yeah. But we have found that people are shy, and it's hard. It takes a lot of courage for people to come to a place like this and say, teach me something. So I think there is this fascination, whether it's out there or it's in secret. It's on everybody's minds. Yeah.
And do you think that has anything to do with the fact that I feel like historically we're so puritanical and there's such an air of shame around sex in our, I wouldn't say Western culture overall U.S. culture, I think, can be very shaming around sex. And I think it's like what you're talking about. There's such a taboo when it comes to talking about sex, and that's what makes it's so salacious for us, where, you know, you go to Europe and it's like, you know, you see naked boobs, it's not a big deal. There's, you know, naked beaches, there's shows where there's, you know, sex is the topic, and it's only a big deal if you're an American. Right? Exactly. You know,
True.
And I think that's why we are obsessed with it, because there's a lot to be healed in our cultural flora and fauna, right? Like with shame and things like that. What do you ladies think?
Absolutely, yeah. You just made me think about a new friend we have who is a dating coach from Sweden, and she was talking about how, you know, the hookup culture is very rampant, and it's like really easy to have sex with somebody that you're hanging out with. Yeah. But actually, to go on a date or to call something a date kind of makes everybody freak out.
What, in Sweden?
In Sweden,
really?
Yeah.
Because then you've made it all official.
I guess so.
Is that why?
Yeah, she was explaining this, and it was news to me, and I thought, wow, that's really interesting. So she's really finding a lot of her clients don't know how to socialize in that way.
Yeah.
Like when people socialize in Sweden, it's like, hey, we're all together in a group, we're at a party, or we're going out as friends, and then hook up, and it's not a big deal. But that's how people kind of get into relationships.
Okay.
As opposed to how we do it here usually is, you know, let's go on a date or whatnot.
Yeah.
It's very different.
That's interesting, because you guys don't know that we have pre-conversation. And Kelly, I hope you don't think I'm blowing up your spot.
No.
But Kelly was talking earlier about how her sort of dating experience has been friends who've evolved into these great relationships. And so maybe there's something to be said for not being so formal about it. Because I do think that as soon as you say you're dating, all of a sudden there's all these rules about how you're supposed to behave and how you're supposed to show up and what that's supposed to look like. Like, what do you ladies think about that? Like, who's dating here and feels like there's parameters, and you know, what are your feelings? What comes up for you when we talk about that? Does anybody want to admit they're dating? They're like, I don't want to talk about my dating right now. Anybody? I see Sheila. Hi, Sheila just got here. I don't know. That's been my experience. And I feel like, you know, there's so many, I don't know if you guys remember that book. I think it was in the 90s, The Rules. You know, and there's so many sort of structures for how you're supposed to behave on dates and things, and, you know, It goes back to our puritanical culture.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the name of that book, but I don't think I ever saw it. Like, what is a book called The Rules?
The Rules.
And people were really treating it like they were rules.
Yeah. Like, you know, you as a woman.
We went out this many times, now something, right?
Exactly. Like, we can next level, you know, we've been on 5 dates, so now we can make out, or whatever it was. Or, you know, don't be so available, so make up reasons for why you're not available, you know, that sort of thing. And I feel like when you put those kind of parameters on something, clearly, like, you're going to get nervous. Am I doing it right?
Yeah.
As soon as you start to feel like that, I feel like we have a am I doing it right thing.
Yeah.
When it comes to dating.
Well, I think I maybe to this question of culture, I don't know, but I think sometimes in the United States, people are very, well, we're just talking about the rules, but rules oriented, even if they don't think they are. If they think they're really rebellious and I do my own thing, there's still this very conservative playing by some sort of unspoken rule book.
Yeah.
So,
like trying to be right instead of wrong.
Yeah. Doing it the way done. Yeah. Which is, I mean, you know,
or counterintuitive. Yeah. Because if we want to be able to have, like, I'm still a big believer in unconditional love and that it's possible, right? And if we want to be able to have unconditional love, we need to be able to just show up authentically. And, you know, following some set of rules I've been told, or, you know, doing the Cyrano thing and I'm saying some words I've been told to say, that's not authentically who I am. You know, and the ones who don't like me for authentically who I am aren't the ones for me, right?
Right.
Yeah. I see Joe and Angela and Brian joined. What's up, people? I love it when the people trickle in. All right, are we done with that question? We good with that one? Yeah. Okay, here's another one. How do I stop getting my hopes up? I've always been the type to get my hopes up, especially regarding dating. So I'm constantly getting disappointed. Ooh, that is a big one. That is a big one. What do you guys think about that? Like being in that place?
I think that's totally normal, and I think that is a fast route to just being burnt out on dating. Right? So one of the things we recommend here at the V Club is that, when you're dating, you have to think of it as something other than like, okay, I have to get, a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or like, this is what the end result has to be. You have to think of it like, oh, this is a research project on human interaction, and I'm the researcher, or this is going to be a great opportunity for me to practice my social skills, or I'm going to learn something tonight. I wonder what it's going to be, and you just never know when you meet somebody, right? Somebody, and every one of us, every human being is a treasure to be opened, right?
Oh, I love that, Jamie.
It
Right?
might not
Does it make you feel special?
It might not be your, treasure for life.
Yeah.
But it could be a treasure for one date where you learn something interesting about someone else or yourself, you know? So I think if you can just reframe it, a good mind hack for dating.
Right? Like, and what I'm hearing and what you're saying too is the focus on if you go on a date and you have a great time, a lot of times we go on a date and we have a great time. So then we immediately, like you said, get attached to an end result. I really like that person, so he's got to be the one. Right? As opposed to, and then if it doesn't repeat itself, or if he's not, in touch enough or whatever, then we go into what's missing. So I liked him and now he's not showing up. And so now there's a problem, as opposed to, what? I went out on a date the other night. I had a great time. And that's it. That's all it needs to be. Right? And you just build a series of moments with somebody, right?
I like that.
Yeah. I think even like those couples you see on the news, they're like, we've been married for 75 years. And they're like, how'd you do it? I'm like, well, we just kept loving each other. Like, you know what I mean? It's like a choice we made, year after year, day after day, month after month. We just, it's just a series of moments that built up to years. Right? Yeah, I think so. Wait, what's Lee says? In my life, it always seems the dating takes off like wildfire. It seems that end result idea comes way too fast. Now, I would be curious to know, Lee, is that something that happens for you or the women you date? Because here's the thing about Lee, ladies. Lee is my unofficial co-host. He and I went to high school together, so we're around the same age, right? I've known Lee for a very long time. That's why I love Facebook, because whatever, you can have all your old people. Some of the people you don't want, but Lee is definitely one of those people. But what I would be curious to know, Lee, especially since I know you date women around our age, is it the women? Because is it that like desperation thing? You say both. Oh, so sometimes, Lee, you move way too fast. I see D'Angelo came in, Lauren came in. Welcome, people. What does Lee say? I'm a young man. That's right, honey. We're young and youthful. He is. He runs. I feel like anybody who's still running, Right? He's young. Do we want to say anything else to our Quora person and anybody else out there who might have the same question? Because I feel like getting constantly disappointed with dating is something that is rampant. I know a lot of women who are just like, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of meeting guys that are about the same thing. Nothing. I'm sick of not being able to have that connection. Is there anything else that we want to say to anybody out there about it? If they're feeling this way?
Oh, Lee, it's way too hard to go slow.
You say it's way too hard to go slow. Lee, are you feeling like it's a time constraint? Are you feeling like you don't want to go slow because you want to just get it done? You want to, get your end result and be in your relationship and not have to be doing this work? Just, you can answer whenever you answer. I see Jonathan just came in. I feel like, back to what you mentioned, Jamie, and I love that you mentioned this because I think attachment is a big thing. Because I think not just with relationships, with a lot of things, we're in such a instant gratification culture, right? And sometimes we get so attached to what can be. Yeah. And, when we have a context of like, I'm running out of time, I don't have as many eggs, or, I don't know, Lee, I'm just guessing for you, I'm ready to be a husband again, or, whatever it is. Sometimes we see someone who could possibly fit in, and that fuels the attachment, right? It's like, I want to be married, and you're it. You know, and the moment we do that, it's just like what we were talking about earlier. When we start placing rules on something or start getting attached to how it needs to be, it sabotages. Lee says, sometimes I need to learn to do more research and enjoy the process and stop the instant gratification.
That's wisely, yeah.
Right?
I'm thinking of my marriage, about to get married for the second time, but my first marriage didn't work out, and I really look back and I see how my ex and I both had this fantasy of who the other person was, and for a while we really met that fantasy and we were a match for that. But then as we got to know each other more and lived together, and you know, I think that illusion just started crumbling, and there was a lot of resentment over that, and there was a lot of other stuff too. But that, I think, is one of my fears, and I expressed that to my fiance early on. My fear was that he would create a fantasy of who I was and not actually get to know me. And that happens when people rush into things, and things are really fiery and passionate, and maybe, you know, they meet a few top things on your list, and you're like, "Oh my God, that's it!" Like,
right? Like you're the one. That's it.
You know, and, I like, you know, the romantic idea of that, but I think it's just really, and I think I said this on your show before. For me, it's better for me when I can savor like each phase of the relationship, and kind of that helps me go slower, you know, like chewing your food well, you know?
Staying present
definitely.
I like that,
because I definitely in my past had a tendency to just like jump headfirst into things that felt good immediately, and I know that exactly what you're talking about. Lee.
And he says instant connections don't always lead to long-term reality. You are so right about instant perceptions. I mean, and the thing too, Lee, Jamie brought up such a good point about the, you know, slowing things down and being present, because you don't really have to do hard research if you just stay present to the person you're dealing with, right? Just like really just open and, you know, willing to take the journey with them, but just not you know, making the story any more or less than it is, and just allowing that person to show up as they are, showing up as you are, being as authentic as you can be, and life will show you whether that person can align with you or not. It's just really about being comfortable being with who you are, right? I feel like those people who are bad for us, and it's whether we'll look at it or not. Like sometimes we go in denial. It's like those people who stay in relationships for a long time where they're getting cheated on. I feel like if we're willing to listen to our gut, listen to ourselves, and just be aligned with what it is we really want, life says, here is everything that's not going to work, and I'm going to take this person out of your way. If we allow that, but we rarely do. Like a lot of times we try to like make it work. And like Jamie was talking about, like, I see these few good things about you, so I'm going to hold on really tight and, you know, make you work and make you be that thing. Right?
I'm going to make you fit into
I'm going to make you fit. And Lee's one of those like good guy type. Like he's a good guy with a good job and he's raised great kids. So, you know, he's the type that's like very eligible, and the women are like, oh, you know, if I want to come in and play wife, I can do that. So Lee, you got to just be very careful that you're allowing a friendship and allowing a course of getting to know each other, you know, rather than being like, yeah, you look like you could fit in. Come on, be my wife. You know, hey, Donna just joined us. What's up, honey? So are we good with that, with the constantly getting disappointed? Any other nuggets that we want to offer out to the people? We're good. All right, ladies. Out in the audio, we got a lot of nodding heads. You can hear the wind of the nodding heads. It's good. All right, so let's go to the next question. Should I say something when my partner's sister-in-law shows physical affection towards him, her brother-in-law, in front of me, the kind that a lover would, like she is marking her territory? So it's her partner's sister-in-law. So I'm assuming that she's married to her partner's brother.
Okay.
Right? And they show physical affection to each other. To her, it's the kind that a lover would show. And she wonders if she's marking her territory. She's wondering if she should say something about it. What do you guys think about that? Hi, Hyam joined us. Hi, honey.
If it's inappropriate, why is it's his thing to check? Like that's not her. He should be checking that if it's inappropriate. So she needs to go to him first.
Yeah.
They discuss what are our expectations, what are our boundaries, are we aligned on that? And then if he says, yeah, that is a bit much, he needs to check it. That's not on her, in my opinion.
But what do you think she should say to him?
To her partner?
Yeah.
I mean, she should.
Why she all up on you?
I'm hoping that she shared that she feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why you would hold that.
Yeah.
I would bring that up immediately. Why don't let things fester? Because when she brings it up, it's going to be this big tornado if she hasn't already.
Right.
And he may be like, where is this coming from? He might think it's all kosher. But I mean, whether he deems it as inappropriate or not, if she's uncomfortable, he needs to respect that.
Yeah.
And the holidays are coming.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of like family gatherings. They're going to be like making out over the turkey and right? And she's like, should I say something? I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think, James?
If there's alcohol involved, like extra,
Amp it up.
watch out. Yeah,
Right.
I know some folks like that.
Do you?
Yeah.
It's like that. I want you to tell us, but it reminds me of that Saturday Night Live skit. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, where it's like always somebody goes out on a date with like one of the kids of the family, and they all make out with each other.
Right.
Like the dad, like have you, right? Hey, son. Right. But what were you gonna say, honey? I didn't want to interrupt you.
Oh, I don't have anything wise to say. It's just that I've had that experience. In fact, recently I have a friend of mine who drinks some wine, and she gets a little touchy with my partner.
Oh.
Just, like sitting close to him and putting her hand on. She's about 20 years older than we are, but she puts her hand on his hand if he's got his hand on his lap, and she'll kiss him on the lips, like goodbye and stuff. But I'm kind of aware that she's had a lot to drink.
Okay.
So I kind of like give her a pass on that, but my partner is the one who's like freaked out.
Is he?
Yeah.
He's like, me too.
Yeah.
He's like, stop, she's harassing me.
Yeah.
Wow.
So maybe I need to.
I only did it once, Jamie.
Kelly.
I need to bring it up like this, Kelly.
But you're right. He's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Is he uncomfortable enough? Do you think that he would bring it up? Do you think he would say anything to her? He's probably very kind and like doesn't want to.
Yeah, he's kind of like
hurt her feelings.
If I'm witnessing it, he'll look at me like,
like help.
Yeah. So maybe I just need to, because she's my friend, maybe I need to let him know, like, it's okay if you want to say something to her.
Yeah.
She's making you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, by all means, do that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's my place for some reason, but even though she's my friend.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I feel like there's no conversation that is out of the realm of having being had. It's how we approach it. Because even if he were to say something, if you were to say something, I think anything, if you add humor and lightness to it, and not wrong making, like if you're not like, listen, you dirty slut, stop drinking and kissing my boyfriend. That's one way, right? Which could be really offensive. And then, the other extreme of that is like, you're so, like, you're majorly affectionate. I noticed that. It's like, it's really sweet, but he's my man, right? And just joke it off, and see if that, like, like, keep it light and see what happens from that.
Okay.
That's what and I'm only saying that for you just because she is your friend. Like if she were his friend and it were their relationship, I would be like what Jaleisha was saying, like the onus would be on him to say, look, I'm uncomfortable. And it still could be. Like he could say it in a light, funny way too.
Yeah.
Like, I only got lips for Jamie. I love you. But you know what I mean? And just kind of like let it be not an uncomfortable thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. If you feel like you can, I see Darren and John joined us. What's up, gentlemen? I love it when the gentlemen come trickling in too. Do we have anything else to say for this poor woman whose partner is getting slobbed down by his sister-in-law? Do we have anything else to say for her?
Sorry.
All right. All right. Make it light. Keep it light, honey. Maybe you can joke out of it. Yeah. You never know. Sometimes people they think about something in a joke because there's truth in comedy, and they walk away and they're like, oh, yeah. Right? Exactly. All right, let's go to the next question. How do I stop thinking about other guys when I have a boyfriend? For some reason, I assume this is somebody who's young, but not necessarily. Because I feel like, you can be in a relationship and really be thinking about other people. This questioner wants to know how to stop doing it. What do you guys think about that?
I want more information.
That is Cora. That's the magic of Cora. You get to make it up because we don't know any other information. It's like, what would be your answer off the cuff?
Accept it? I don't think it's not the worst thing. Thinking is one thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I guess depending on, is she obsessing over like a coworker? Is this looking at a guy that you saw on the bus and thinking, oh, I don't know, like that seems harmless.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think even thinking about other people, that can be something that can like spark something in you that you bring home. I don't know. I don't think it has to be like a bad thing.
Yeah.
In totality.
I totally agree with that, Jaleisha, because I feel like that's part of what makes monogamy hard is this idea that we're not supposed to ever find anybody else attractive.
Yeah, it's that silly rules thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you're a human being, you find many people attractive in a day, riding the subway, whatever, but it's, and that you wouldn't even be able to share that, like, oh, I saw this really handsome man, like that would be, you said that to your
right.
Yeah.
So don't chastise yourself.
Right. Sometimes you shame and
keep it in check if you're obsessing.
Right? Yeah. And also, and Jaleisha brought up a good point about that too. Like if you're obsessing and if you're having feelings for another guy, that's a different thing. Obviously, that's something to be addressed. But if it's just that you're thinking about other guys because you find them hot or whatever, that's totally healthy and normal. Like I don't know. Lee says is it about stop doing it or stop acting on it? You're right, Lee, because we don't know if she's out there, acting on it. And Darren says engage your partner more. You have to expound on that a little bit, Darren, because I think what I'm thinking when you say that is like, I was in a relationship where we had our celebrity crush, right? And that would be the person that if you were able to have sex with that person, you get a pass. But to be able to have that conversation with the person that you're with and, be able to be secure enough, because I had a different relationship where I made the mistake. It was like an early date. And I made the mistake. I think it was like, I forget what movie it was, but it was Morris Chestnut was in this movie. And he comes out of the shower and he's like no shirt on. And I'm sitting next to this guy. I've only been dating we've only been on a few dates. And I was just like, oof, like I didn't mean to have the reaction. It just kind of like, it was a knee-jerk reaction. And I realized on that date that he was a very insecure guy because not only did he not let me forget it. I apologized. I was like, you're absolutely right. It was inappropriate. And he just was like, he needed his pound of flesh. And I kept dating him a little while longer and it kept coming up that I reacted. So, I feel like if you're dealing with someone where you can't be open about the fact that you can be physically attracted to other people and can't have that conversation, you might be dealing with some insecurities. Right? Yeah. That don't work. What does Darren say? I think many people do that naturally. I think it is normal to find others attractive. It is okay. In fact, they should share it with their partner. Yeah, totally. And Lee says, pass for who? Do tell. Wait, what did I say about pass for who? Oh, my celebrity? Oh. Yeah. I have a couple of them. And people are going to be... whoever I end up with, if they don't understand that these are going to be my people, that if I have sex with them, that's it. Not that our relationship's over, but that I get my pass, because I wouldn't necessarily be in relationships with these people, but Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Just sex. If I have that opportunity, I get a pass.
He's a nice guy too.
Yeah. So there you have it, right? I think he's a nice guy too. And he's got a whole set. He's not for everybody. I get it, but for me, he's right up my alley. Darren says making your partner more secure with these things by communicating. Yes, I totally agree. That ability to have that open conversation. I feel like you and Tristan probably have that, right? I feel like you guys are at that friendship thing. What do you think?
Well, honestly, I've never been jealous before. And Tristan is my man. So if
Jamie says he don't get no pass, that's it.
I mean, the other day he made a comment oh, so-and-so, like, she's really attractive. And I was like, yes. There was a pause because I was waiting for him to be like, oh, sorry, you know, because typically he and I would both do that.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And then we were kind of like, it's okay, right? Yeah. It's okay to find other people attractive.
Oh, that's good.
That's the way of the world.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you got a moment where you got to kind of get that conversation out the way.
We had that conversation.
Yeah. I love that. You know I'm getting invited to the wedding, right? Am I getting invited to the wedding?
Everybody's
I'm putting you on the spot.
City Hall,
Because I want
January
to be there.
22nd.
Really?
Yeah.
That's my mom's birthday. That's 2 days before my birthday. I'm coming.
wow.
I'm coming and bringing a present that is a present for you, but it's going to be like birthday for me because I love weddings.
Oh my God. My night is made.
I just totally invited myself and usurped her wedding day. So Lee says The Rock. Yes, that's right, honey. Lee's bald. He's got that thing going on too. Workout bald thing. All right, so let's go to the next question. How can I convince my husband not to attend his ex-wife's funeral? That it's disrespectful to me and our family now, and that her family probably won't want him there anyway. Wow.
Oh.
I love Cora questions. Because, like, doesn't your mind go in all these different directions as to, like, what this whole situation could be?
Yes.
Yeah? What do you guys think?
I mean,
Kelly's like, I'm at a loss.
We don't know these people, so I don't know, but I don't know how that would be disrespectful. That is
For him to go, right?
No, right. That is the final act of respect.
Right.
We don't know the situation. Who knows how it ended, but I mean, that's a kind, wonderful thing to do. So to
even want to do, right?
Yeah. So that sounds like somebody's got. Again, it's an insecurity thing, but
you can say it, Kelly.
Yeah, I don't know because we don't know the situation. So depending on, but I just hearing about it, somebody attending an ex-wife.
Yeah.
No, that's a wonderful thing to do.
Right? And there's that sacredness of, like, you know, if someone was in your life and then they're no longer on this earthly plane, whatever you believe about that, there's that sacredness of just paying your last respects, giving yourself whatever closure you might need. It doesn't take away from whatever other relationships that you have to be able to say goodbye or have the peace of just knowing that you were there to pay respects to someone's demise, you know, their transition, whatever you want to call it. What's Lee saying, Jamie? Can you see it?
See, that's weird. I might be speechless.
Wait, Darren says the question might be, what if the situation was reversed? Oh, that's a good point. Like if it were about her ex, like if her ex had passed away. I don't know. I think that's what you're saying. Lee says there may be kids involved, children's mother, good friend, etc. Yeah. There could be many reasons. Yeah, that's absolutely true too. If there's kids involved, then definitely. And if he's their father or whatever, then definitely he should pay last respects. There's nothing like I feel like in this realm of like jealousy and who owns who and who's with who and all of that stuff. You know, sometimes we got to go beyond that scope a little bit because, you know, all in all, we're all human beings connected, right? On some, you know, whatever you believe about spirituality or whatever, we're still all human. So transitioning out of this world, it transcends whether you belong with someone or not. You know what I mean? It's just, it's much bigger than that. And being able to give yourself peace when someone has left the world is a really important, healthy thing to do. Yeah, and you don't want to be someone who stops someone from having that sort of process, I think. Everyone got so reverent. They're like, it's about death. So Darren says, is she jealous of someone who is deceased? I think she is, Darren. And I think that, and I think Kelly made a good point that's real insecurity because death transcends all of this ownership and jealousy and all of that stuff. Lisa sounds like it too. All right, let's move on to something more fun. All right, so the next question is, does education level matter in love relationships? You know, sometimes some people have gone to college, some people haven't, some people got their GED, some people didn't graduate, some people stopped at 8th grade.
That depends.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it. What does it depend on? That's why it's core questions. We can make it be whatever we want.
It depends on if that's really important to you to have a partner who's had the same education level. I can see where it might start to be an issue if your priority is to connect on an intellectual level or like kind of academic level, and your partner maybe didn't go to college or something, and maybe that becomes a problem, but that's if that's really important to you, and that's like a big part of your life maybe, and
I'm such a big believer in that it's not about, obviously if your education levels are vastly different, you could come into some difficulties as far as understanding and communication. However, even as a sapiosexual, I'm someone who's very attracted to intellect, but it really is not about the pieces of paper, because there's a lot of people with pieces of paper who aren't that intellectual, who really aren't that riveting or interesting. And so I think people get very caught up in what makes someone look good on paper, like whether pedigree and stuff like that. When meanwhile, you could have a very in-depth, riveting, stimulating conversation with someone just because you connect on emotion, like something you're passionate about, something you're purposeful about. There's a lot of people out there who didn't go to college who still contribute to the world in a big way. They feed hungry children and, do things like that. So there's a lot of other ways to connect with someone besides, whether we both have a PhD or not. So I'm not saying that if that's something you want in your life or want in a relationship, that you shouldn't have that desire for that. But if you're negating people because they don't have a certain level of degree, then you're limiting your possibilities, right? And there's a lot of very intellectual, intelligent, interesting, well-traveled people who did not go to college. Or they're contributing to their society, their community, or whatever other it's really about what your humanitarian and emotional values are, not what the external, it's like their bank account, whether they have a degree or not, what kind of car they drive, like all that stuff is kind of in the same realm, and that stuff will get you a certain kind of life, but that's not what authentic emotional connection is about. Right. That's the way I see it. Angela says, I totally agree with everything you just said. Thank you very much, Angela. Woman after my own heart. Lee says, what does he say? No, it does not. It's refreshing when your partner understands the things you do and talk about. Yeah, exactly. And Lee's saying it in a much simpler way. Darren says, many people who don't go to college can be as smart as a PhD. The PhD BU, reading a lot. BU. What's BU, you guys? I don't know some of the abbreviations on social media. Reading a lot. I agree. Yes, Darren, absolutely. So yeah, it comes down to give people a chance. Stop worrying about all this stuff. What are we going to say, Jaleisha?
Just another layer that comes to mind is different levels of intellect, like being intellectual. And, I've discovered for myself, the importance of emotional intelligence. You can have a million degrees, PhD, make money, be successful. But there's so many people without that are highly educated. Yeah. I don't even like using that term, being educated. I don't know. I feel tense. I don't know why, but that's a super important thing for me. In a partner, and I think sometimes that can go by the wayside, and it doesn't have as much value as what your degree is.
No, I totally agree with that. And it's also something that can scarily become a little elitist. And I think as soon as we start to go into that realm, we start to we cut off parts of the population, and it's just not worth it, because we're here to connect and love each other and care for each other. Oh, Darren says it means a PhD by reading a lot. Oh, so I see what you're saying. So someone can be just as smart as someone who has a PhD if they're reading a lot. Yeah, sure. Traveling, whatever, experiencing life, open to getting to know different people. And like Jaleisha said, emotional intelligence, which I think is so important, so much more important than any other kind of intelligence. Because when, someone's very immature, it's very hard to connect with them. Doesn't matter if they know quantum physics or, can figure out, calculus problems or whatever. All right, we ready to go on to the next one? Our time is going so fast. Ladies, we only have like 9 minutes left.
Oh
Can you believe that? Right? Do you feel like it went fast? Or you I got my quiet girls in the back, Kelsey and Freedom. They're like, get me off of here. All right, we're going to the next question. Ooh, okay, wait. Are we generally better or worse off if we wait until we fall in love to have our first full sexual experience? This sounds like a young person asking this question, but it may not be. Are we generally better or worse off if we wait until we fall in love to have our first full sexual experience? I like this question. I feel like it's a good, valid question. What do you think about it, Jamie? I see you stewing over there.
I think better off. I that's what I want to say.
Okay. If we wait until we fall in love, you think we're better off?
Well, again, it depends on what's important to you and you know, all of that. I just think that I was really, really happy with the decision I made to finally have a sexual experience with someone who I really cared about and really loved.
Yeah.
And I never regretted that. And I feel like, you know, it can really kind of form your understanding of, you know, sexuality when you're forward in life. So, but, you know, there's nothing wrong with experimenting with somebody that maybe you're not in love with, but you trust or you have respect for. I mean, nothing is wrong. It's just, I think you can set yourself up for, you know, more and more positive experiences when you feel good in your heart about the person you're sharing yourself with in that way.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that what you're saying is really great. And here's the thing. It's not to shame anyone who had their first sexual experience with someone they weren't in love with. I had my first sexual experience with someone I was not in love with, but if I could go back, not out of a space of regret, but from what I know or what I've read or what I've dealt with, conversations that I've had, I feel like that's an experience I somewhat cheated myself out of by being in a rush to just do it. So what I would say is if you haven't had a first sexual experience, it's worthwhile to give yourself the space to really care about that person, to try that exploration, because I feel like you never regret loving somebody, right? Or that's not really true. That's an absolute statement. But an experience out of love. Like, even if I think about my abusive relationship, I don't regret the moments that were loving moments, right? So if your first sexual experience could be a loving moment, you know, your chances of having regret around it are going to be a lot less. And granted, the regret is all about beliefs and context. Like, any regret that I had about my first sexual experience was all about my belief that there was something wrong, right? I had to learn that there was nothing wrong in order to make it okay, so I wouldn't regret it. But that doesn't mean that there's not a part of me that if I could go back would do it differently and really get to, like, you know someone and connect with them on an intimate level. You know, you don't have those tools when you're between the ages of, 15 and 25, whatever. When people first have sex, you may not have those tools to know to do that. But, if you are those ages, or even if you're older and you haven't had your first full sexual experience, like, give yourself the opportunity to really care about somebody and try it that way, I think, if you can. If you can't, that's okay. Right? We're all human beings. Right? Darren says, I find it strange that people can just do it without some type of feeling for the other person. That's interesting, Darren, because you don't often hear men say that. I feel like people generalize that men can really separate sexual acts with loving acts. Do you ladies agree with that? Do you feel like that's something that people say about men? I feel like that's what I've heard more often than not. Yeah.
I feel like it's shifted.
Yeah.
In recent years, and that more women can experience it that way.
Mm-hmm. But what about men? Like, men, I feel like there's this assumption, and obviously it's a generalization because Darren's saying something different.
No, it is.
Right?
And I think the ones who maybe agree with Darren are, they're keeping their lips sealed because it goes against the norm of what it is to be a man.
Yeah.
Men should be ready want it all the time. They should never reject. They should never not be in the mood. They should never not want to have another date. Like, that's just not the norm.
Yeah.
That's attached to being a man, which can be really problematic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not weird, Darren.
You're not weird, Darren. Darren says, am I weird? LOL. You're not weird, honey. You sound like a really sweet person. So, okay, we have a couple more questions. We have 4 minutes, but there's one question that I really wanted us to get to because there's also a really great answer that I brought the answer to. I'm like, it's such an honest, like, little bit of a scary answer, but I feel like it will be very eye-opening for a lot of people who are listening. Lee says, I know men and women who can act sexually without emotion. Yeah, I think you're right, Lee. I think there are more and more people. Wait, Darren says, I work as a nurse around women all the time. I look at women differently and more respectfully. Okay. All right, Darren. I love that. So, I really want to get to this last question because it's about narcissists. And so a person asked a question and someone who identifies themselves as a narcissist answered the question. And I feel like there'll be a lot of, if I would have read this answer when I was in a relationship with a narcissist and performing my own narcissistic behaviors in that relationship, it probably would have really pivoted things in a big way. So I'm going to share this. The question is, why do narcissists target people with low self-esteem? Wouldn't they be too easy a target for these grandiose individuals? Now, what I'm thinking this person is assuming in the question is that if I'm a narcissist, I'm going to want to conquer and have it be a conquest, and that's what's going to give me supply and feed my ego, right? So this person answered, and he says he calls himself a self-aware ASPD narcissist sadist. So self-identified, right? He says, the only reason I can think of this occurring is because those with low self-esteem will be quicker to latch on to us. For example, if I come into a female's life and this female is lonely, low in confidence, and is used to being rejected by males or has had limited experience in relationships, then I will be able to easily get her to latch on to me. And due to her low self-esteem, she will become submissive in fear of me leaving her. And I will have gotten primary supply, a new partner, much easier. And her role in my life will be to give me attention and sex and whatever else. The armed radio people are going to have to leave us, but the Facebook Live people, you're staying so we can finish this. Armed radio people, never forget that you're a love machine. If you ever feel like you're not getting enough, just make more. I love you. I know you're going to have to leave before I finish the letter. And, you can always come back and watch the video or go on YouTube, and I'll make sure you guys have that link. But I love you, Armed Radio. Bye when you go. Facebook Live people, stick around. We're not done with this letter.